Hey, Miss Ma'am, you need to stop acting your shoe size and start acting your age, okay? So in this video, I'm going to give you 8 habits that a lot of women unfortunately learn too late that will eventually help them become mature and ultimately become grown. Because just because you have a big age don't mean you a grown woman. The first one, you need to learn the right time to speak up, defend yourself, and stay quiet. The first one is when to speak up. I think a lot of individuals end up living a life that they do not want to live, especially as they grow older, because they do not speak up for themselves or they do not speak up at all. It could be in a professional setting. Maybe you're at work and you have an opinion about something, or maybe there was something that was said in a meeting that you don't necessarily agree with, or maybe you just feel like you could do things differently. You speak up. Maybe it's your friends all want to go to a certain place and you don't necessarily want to go to that place, and you're speaking up, saying how you feel. It doesn't mean that you're confrontational. It does not mean that you always have a problem with something, but it means you are confident enough in yourself to know that, hey, my opinion matters. How I feel matters. You need to start speaking up for yourself. The second one, you need to start defending yourself. When people are making you feel a certain way that you do not want to feel, you have to be confident enough in yourself to defend yourself. Hey, I do not like when you say this to me. Hey, I do not like when you do this. Defend yourself. Because another thing is too, you don't know how to properly defend yourself. So when people tell you, oh, I didn't mean to come across as rude, oh, I didn't mean to come across as, you allow them to keep treating you like that because they didn't mean to do that. No, you need to start defending yourself so people know this is not how you're going to treat me. This is not what you're going to do. And I think a lot of women don't like defending themselves because people give you that idea of, oh, she's a problem. Oh, she's a diva. Oh, I feel like when women defend ourselves, it becomes like we're a problem. But then when men defend themselves, sometimes it feels like, oh, well, he just knows how to put his foot down, or he just knows how to stand up for what he believes in. And I think sometimes too, as women, we're scared to defend ourselves because it's like, I don't want people to think that I'm a problem child. I don't want people to think that I always have a problem with something. But I feel like you have to get into the habit of doing it. You have to get into the habit of essentially putting yourself first. And the last one is knowing when to stay quiet. Especially because social media is so easy to just make a post. It's so easy to go on a tangent and say how you feel, or it's so easy to cuss somebody out. But I think knowing how to stay quiet is an art, and knowing when to stay quiet is an art. Especially one thing I learned about life is everybody does not have the same goals, dreams, and aspirations as me. So that means I do not have to converse with everybody. Like, yes, somebody might have made a subliminal post about you, or yes, somebody is trying to be funny. But I've learned, if I know what I want to do with my life, if I know where I want to go in my life, there's certain individuals that just can't get the time of day out of me. And a lot of people want that from you. They want to rile you up. They want you to go at them because that's all they got. They have nothing that they're doing with their life. They have no goals, dreams, or aspirations. And so they say little things and they do little things to get you to go after them. And some people think that they're defending themselves and they're speaking up for themselves. But there's certain times where you do just need to stay quiet and let the kids play with the kids. Let them do what they're going to do. And I'm going in a different direction. I'm going with the grown folks. I'm at the grown folks table. I ain't with the little kids. I'm not worried about that. But I think it's very imperative to know the difference between the three. And it is an art. It is something that you are going to have to adjust and you're going to have to try out. And sometimes you might defend yourself when you should have stayed quiet. And sometimes you might speak up and you get what I'm saying, and do things wrong. But I think maturing is, a mature woman knows the difference between the three. When it's time that she needs to speak up, when it's time that she needs to defend herself, and when it's time that she just needs to sit back and be quiet. The next one is going against the grain. One of the things that I realized in life is that I need to figure out what is truly for me. And you cannot know what's truly for you until you know what's not for you. And I think it's so easy for us to go with the grain, for us to go along with what everyone else is doing and how we grew up and how we've done things. But a part of maturity is learning what separates you from everyone else, what makes you an individual. And I think going against the grain does that. That means you possibly moving to a different place than people would expect you to do. That means you possibly doing something different with your career, your hair. That means you possibly getting first wanting to go to college for one degree, but then changing. First wanting to do this job, but then changing. And I think maturing is, you're so secure in yourself that you can go against the grain. You can do something different. You can do things that you possibly didn't even know or think that you wanted to do, but have the safety in yourself of knowing I can go back home. I think sometimes people are afraid to go in a different direction and go against the grain because they're afraid of not knowing how to get back to themselves. They're afraid of not knowing how to get back home. But I think if you are so strong in yourself, you're like, you know what? I can try a different kind of hairstyle. And if I don't like it, I'm not doing that hairstyle again. But I'm not going to be afraid to try a hairstyle. I can go to a restaurant and try some food that I probably would never have tried before, but hey, I'm out the country, I'm on vacation. I probably will never get to try this again, so let me just try it and see if I like it. I feel like there are some people who are so afraid to go against the grain. They're so afraid to go against what they were taught when they were younger. They're so afraid to go against the things that they grew up around, the music that they listened to, that they never spread their wings. They never become an individual. And I feel like maturing is understanding that you are important, you matter, but you also are different. And it doesn't take away anything from you because you are different from the group, because you are different from your siblings, because you are different from your coworkers. And maturing is being able to go against the grain, because you might try something else and you might like it more or you might not, but at least you were able to say that you tried something. And I realized for myself, like, I've learned the most about myself when I went against the grain, when I went against the common thought, when I went against the things that I grew up upon, or like maybe it was a food, or maybe it was, you get what I'm saying, a hairstyle, fashion, a career. Like when I went against who I thought I was, if that makes any sense, or who people made me think I was, I've learned the most about myself. I've learned what truly makes me an individual, because it was like, I tried something and some things I really end up enjoying, some things I didn't. But like, I don't know, that ability to bounce back, that ability to go find my essentially home again is what really allows me to go out and branch out and be myself. Cause it's like, I've tried different things and I still was able to come back to me. But I think some people are scared, and it's because you will not go against the grain. So you need to get into the habit of just trying new things and essentially going against the grain. Breaking down your goals is the next one, because I feel like a lot of individuals are just kids mentally in a woman's body. And it's because, now don't get me wrong, I am a big advocate of like, there aren't really realistic goals, right? You can be anything or do anything you want to do. I've always had that mindset since I was little, and I think it's definitely carried me until my age now. But there's a difference about how you go about it. When I was a young girl, I had all these goals and these dreams and these aspirations. And essentially, I thought if I just dreamed hard enough, wished hard enough, closed my eyes hard enough, that when I woke up, I would have those things. And I think a lot of women have those ideas as well. You think that you're going to change your body by going to the gym for 2 weeks. Let's be completely honest. You've been struggling with your body, struggling with your weight for how long? And you think just because this girl posted this 2-week workout is going to change your body. Let's just be so for real. You think because this person told you how they made $1 million in a month, you're going to make $1 million in a month. Let's just be so for real. Like, I feel like once you become an adult, it's not saying that you have to lower your goals. It's not saying that you have to lower your dreams, even though some people do that as well. But I think when you become mature, you break them down and figure out, how can I actually achieve this thing, right? You no longer look at working out as being, okay, let me find a quick 2-week workout or 3-week workout that will change my body. You look at it as, okay, what do I have to start doing? Do I have to start going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week? Do I have to start cutting out certain food? Do I have to start, like, where do I start? And I think that's the difference between a girl and a woman. That's the difference between being immature and being mature when you look at your goals. A child will look at something trying to get it quick and fast and just thinking so big and so grand and thinking that they have to take this huge leap and their life is going to change overnight, or their life is going to change, you get what I'm saying, in a couple weeks. But a mature individual will look at it and say, okay, I have to break this thing down to figure out how I'm actually going to achieve this thing. This is the first step. This is the second step. This is the third step. But I think a lot of people learn that too late. They wait until they get older and they're like, dang, if I would have just started, when I was 20, if I would have just started when I was 25, if I would have just started when I was 30. And it's like, but when you were that age, you kept saying to yourself, oh, I don't know where to start. Oh, I don't know where to start, because you made your goals way too, or I should say the start of your goals way too unrealistic. So I think that's a big part of maturing, is actually breaking down your goals so that they are essentially achievable, instead of being like a kid that has like these outlandish goals that they think is going to change their life overnight. Another one is self-discipline. Self-discipline is so imperative, because I feel like when you simply are a child, you think that you deserve everything. You think that you deserve to have the money, the dreams, the wishes, the goals, aspirations. But you get older, you understand there's certain things that you can or you can't do. And a lot of times you show yourself what you care about through what you are disciplined with doing. And I think a part of becoming mature is disciplining yourself. You say that you want to change your body. Okay, you're going to have to be disciplined enough to not eat certain things. You're going to have to be disciplined enough to get yourself up in a certain amount of time before work to go to the gym. You say that you want to start growing on social media. Okay, you're going to have to be disciplined enough to actually record the content. Like, I think one of the things that we do a lot of times is we want to do every single thing. We want to go to the trips. We want to make the money. We want to experience all these things. But I think one of the biggest things a lot of women have to get is discipline. I am disciplined enough to cut out certain things for a certain amount of time, extended as long as it may be, to get to the life that I want to get to. But I think going back to the childish and immature mindset, you feel like you deserve to get these things simply because you want them. And a mature individual understands I have to be disciplined. I have to cut out certain things. I have to do things sometimes when I'm a little bit tired. I have to do things that I don't necessarily want to do. A child wants to do every single thing that they want to do and nothing more. If I don't want to do it, I should not have to do it. A mature individual understands if I want to change my life, if I want to become someone else, I'm going to have to start doing things that right now I don't want to do, but eventually they will become normal for me. But if I want to change my life, I have to change my habits. And how to start with that is through self-discipline. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that you have to develop as quickly as possible is self-discipline. The longer it takes you to develop this habit is the longer it's going to take you to achieve any dream, goal, aspiration that you may have for yourself, because you cannot be disciplined enough to stop doing the things that are bringing you down to give you enough time to do the things that actually will bring your life up. The next one is boundaries. It's so imperative that you do create boundaries. And I always say boundaries are essentially a force field, right? They're a force field, they're a protection around you. And the least amount of boundaries that you have means the least amount of protection that you have for yourself. And in my opinion, if something is not protected, then that means you don't care about it. When you do not have boundaries, that is the equivalent of leaving your home door wide open. That is the equivalent of leaving your window wide open at your home. That is the equivalent of leaving your car door unlocked and leaving your windows down. Why do you have a lock on your car? Because you do not want people to get inside of your car. Why? Because you care about your car. So that is essentially a boundary, a protection you have around that thing. So if you do not have boundaries around yourself, you're basically saying, I do not care about myself enough to protect myself. And I think it's imperative, especially for women when it comes to relationships, to have boundaries. You need to figure out what you are not going to allow, what you are not going to let happen. Because time after time I've seen, and this can come in any kind of relationship. It can become in a romantic relationship. It can come in friendships. It can even come in, familiar relationships. I see people have the worst kind of things happen to them when they do not have boundaries. Because if you have a boundary around something, it's easy to tell when someone is pushing that boundary. It's easy to tell when someone is trying to break that boundary. And I think a lot of times too, when things happen, they don't just happen overnight. We like to think the relationship just dwindled overnight. The friendship just broke up overnight. No, time after time, there were little things that were happening. But because you did not have boundaries, you didn't even notice that that was something that you don't allow. You knew that thing didn't particularly make you feel good. You didn't particularly like that thing, but because essentially you never had a boundary around that thing, you never looked at it as, no, this is something I put in place to protect me. This is something that I put in place to make sure that I'm okay. And so when you have boundaries and someone is pushing them, it's easy to say, hold on. Kind of like to defend yourself. You have something to defend yourself about. Do not do this because it makes me feel this way and I don't like it. That shows you, I care about me, I care about this thing, and this is why you can't do that thing. When you don't have boundaries, it's easy for people to push them and you not to be able to defend yourself because you don't even know what you're defending yourself about and or for. So I think one thing that a lot of people gain too late is having boundaries. Going off of that is learning to do things alone. I think a lot of times too, people don't have boundaries as well because you don't see yourself as being an individual. you see yourself as being a collective. You see yourself being a group. And so when the group or the collective does something, even if you may not particularly like that thing or feel good about that thing, it's easy for you to be like, well, that's just us. That's just our friendship. That's just our relationship. But I feel like when you learn how to do things alone, you figure out what makes you different. And then you also figure out a strength that you have within yourself, a trust that you have within yourself. And doing things alone does not mean things that, oh, I just have to go to the mall because I have to pick up something. Oh, I just have to, you get what I'm saying? Something that you just have to do, and it just so happened that you're not inviting someone. No, that means you intentionally doing things alone. And I think for me, it has built up a sense of self-reliance on myself. Like when I started, I got out of my house and I started booking my own doctor's appointments, and I started going to the movies by myself and just started doing things by myself. It showed me, one, how I am my own individual, but then it made me self-reliant. And I think sometimes you rely too much on your relationship with people simply because you're so afraid of being alone. There's so many women that are so afraid of being alone that they will stay in toxic relationships. They will stay with toxic partners. They will stay in toxic environments simply because they're afraid of being by themselves. And I've seen it happen time after time after time. And I feel like the root of it is a lot of those women do not spend time by themselves. They don't care about themselves when they are not dealing with somebody else. They don't think that they have any importance if they're not being valued by someone else. So I think an imperative thing to do to help you mature is spend time alone. Correcting your path is the next one. This is because when you start maturing, once you start adulting, if you will, it's imperative to understand that you're not going to be the same person your entire life. And I feel like people who aren't mature have this mentality that once they turn 18, once they turn 21, like that's just who they am. That's just who they are. Sorry. They make mistakes. They do things. They're just like, that's just me. That's who I am. I do this. I do that. But I feel like once you become mature, you understand to correct your path. By the time you turn 26 years old, you understand, yes, I probably should have went to college when I was 18, but I didn't do it. So let me correct my path and do it now. Yes, I probably should have started going to the gym when I said it 5 years ago, but I didn't do that. So let me do it now. Yes, I did say that I didn't want to do something, or you know what I'm saying? Or I did want to do something, but let me correct my path. And I think that's very imperative. And I think a lot of people live a life that they truly don't enjoy. They live a life that they truly don't like because mentally they don't realize you can and you have to correct your path. And even when you correct your path, you got to correct that. Like, I think life is a succession of correcting your path and finding out what's for you and going in one direction and realizing I want to go in another. But I think once you start maturing, you know that you can correct your path. I feel like if you're immature, you feel like you can't correct your path. You feel like I made a mistake and I can't change it. And I made a mistake and I did something that I wasn't supposed to do and I should have did this. And it's so easy to dwell on your past and look at it as a mistake and look at it as you shouldn't have done this or you shouldn't have done that and dwell on, oh, how differently my life would have been. Yes, your life would have been different. With anything, if you'd have made any decision, anytime you went right, if you would have decided to go left, your life would have been different. But let's not dwell on that because you decided to go that direction. And instead look at it as, you know what, I learned from this thing and let me correct this thing. But I think a lot of people are still in that immature mindset that they can't change their life. They essentially can't change their path because they waited too long. They're too old. They're too grown. Like, a part of growing older is understanding you're never too grown to do anything. You're never too old to start loving yourself. You're never too old to build up your confidence. You're never too old to go back to school, change your career, get a new, start a trade. Like, if you're living a life that you don't want to live, if you went down a path that's not for you, yes, you can and you need to correct your path because that's a part of maturing. Understanding that you did something before with the tools, the resources, the mindset that you had before, and you thought that that was a good decision, but now that you have more tools, more resources, a different mindset, you decided you wanted to go in a different direction and correct the thing that you did before. And the final one is categorizing your friends. I feel like this one is so important and is not talked about enough because I recently went through this and I feel like it made me more mature and I think it made me just deal with my feelings better. Categorizing your friends is understanding every single friend is not meant for every single thing. And I recently had a situation where I literally even got emotional about it, talking about it with my mom because I have a select group of friends, right? And I've been friends with some of my friends, for most of my friends, honestly, for over a decade. And one thing I realized is as we've gotten older, the friendship with some people just isn't what it used to be before. And it's like when you're young and you're growing up, you have these dreams and these goals, like, yeah, when we get older, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And with some of my friendships, they just aren't panning out the way I thought that they would, and certain things aren't happening the way that I thought that they would. And for some people, I feel like we're kind of growing apart. And I thought when we grew up, we would grow even closer. And I think one of the things I had to do was categorize my friends. And it hurt so bad because it just felt like I love this person so much and I care about this person so much. But I had to understand me and this person are not the same, or some people, we're not the same people that we used to be. And that is okay. And it's not saying I'm better than them or they're better than me. We're just going in different directions. And I think it's imperative to categorize people, meaning sometimes you can't have certain conversations with people. You can't do certain things with people anymore. You can't have the intimacy you might have had with certain people or the depth of the relationship simply because y'all just not on that level anymore. And yes, it hurts, but I feel like it will do you so much more justice once you finally do that. Like, it hurt me before because it's like you having conversations about things that you want to do with your life and your future. And some people are kind of like, yeah, they're not really conducive for it. You're saying places you want to go and things that, you get what I'm saying to the person. It's like, yeah, and it's like, but I thought this is what we wanted. I thought we wanted to grow. I thought we wanted to. And then sometimes you look at it as, no, that's what you want to do. And that's okay. You should want to do that thing. But I think we want to bring our friends and people that we care about into our lives and, blend with them, mesh with them. And I just had to realize, like, certain people I have to recategorize because it's going to hurt me so much more, the reaction, the lack of feeling, the lack of depth, the lack of caring that they're going to give me when I talk about certain things or when I want to do certain things. But if you don't have that conversation at all, you don't have to have that feeling. You get what I'm saying? Of feeling like down or feeling like dang. And I don't know, it's something that I just had to do. But also, even on a level that's not as deep, just categorizing your friends that you meet. Like, just because you go out to drinks with somebody don't mean that that person has to know all your deepest, darkest secrets. Just because you and that girl go to happy hour does not mean that y'all need to go on a trip together. Like, you need to understand certain friends are for certain things. Certain friends are for certain parties, certain topics, certain events, and not have the idea of, oh, just because I was friends with this person for 4 years and just because I was friends with this person for, 1 year, I should put this person on a higher pedestal. No, categorize your friends based on a multitude of things, based on the intimacy of the relationship, based on your trust with them, based on your similarities. Like, you really just have to learn how to categorize people and not look at everybody the same, because that's how you're going to get your feelings hurt. There's no reason why you went with the happy hour girl to Miami. Now she ain't got no money and you paying for her everywhere you go. But she was the happy hour girl. She wasn't supposed to leave happy hour. But you didn't know that because you didn't categorize your friends.
No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit.